Hello and welcome, dear friends, to another journey into the heart of Stoic wisdom. Today, we're going to tackle a challenge that each of us faces, often more than we'd like: criticism. Whether it's a gently offered piece of feedback from a colleague, a harsh comment from a stranger online, or a deeply personal rebuke from someone we love, criticism can sting, and if left unchecked, it can derail our day, our focus, and even our sense of self-worth. But what if we could learn to receive criticism with calm, clarity, and even gratitude? What if we could transform a moment of discomfort into an opportunity for growth? That, my friends, is the Stoic method for responding to criticism. It's not about being cold or unfeeling. It's about cultivating an inner fortress of reason and virtue so that the opinions of others knock on the door of our mind, but never break it down. So sit back, get comfortable, and let's explore how Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and the rest of the Stoic masters teach us to face criticism with quiet strength. Part 1. Recognize what lies within your control. Have you ever lain awake at night, replaying a critical remark until it felt like a weight pressing on your chest? We've all been there, friend. In the mirror of our thoughts, criticism can morph into self-doubt and anxiety. Yet, as Epictetus taught, the true art of living well begins with the simple yet profound realization: not everything that happens to us is within our control. Imagine you're tending a small garden. You plant seeds with care, water them, shield them from pests, and still, a sudden storm might flood the soil, or a stray rabbit might nibble the leaves. Would you curse the weather? Would you rail at the rabbit? Or would you tend what remains? Under your stewardship, in life, our thoughts and intentions are the seeds. Everything else, the storms of criticism, the nibbling judgments of others, lies beyond our domain. Epictetus reminds us it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This isn't mere wordplay, it's a lifeline. When someone says something unkind, we have a choice to let their words define us, or to define ourselves by our own reason and virtue. Can you feel the freedom in that choice, that moment of pause? Before the mind races into fear or anger is where your power lives. Let me share a tale from Marcus Aurelius. Once, the emperor read a harsh critique of his leadership from a senator. He paused, took a slow breath, and asked himself, is this truly a reflection of my character, or simply the noise of one man's opinion? He set the words aside and carried on undaunted, unshaken, a scholar of Stoicism. He knew that our inner citadel can only be breached if we throw open the gates ourselves. So, how do we begin? First, acknowledge the sting. Name it, this hurts. By giving it form, you remove its power to lurk in the shadows of your mind. Then ask, what part of this do I control? You control your response, your next action, and your self-judgment. You cannot control another person's words, thoughts, or actions. Ask yourself, what would a person of wisdom do now? Perhaps you'd thank the speaker for their honesty. Perhaps you'd probe gently, seeking clarity rather than launching into defense. Maybe you'd simply let the words pass like clouds across a vast sky. Acknowledged, then released. Seneca once counseled a friend besieged by gossip. Why do you care for what the mob chants? Their voices rise and fall. You remain. We, too, can become unmoved by the chorus of approval or disapproval. When you recognize that the only thing truly yours is your reasoning, the rest becomes background noise. Take a deep breath now. Feel your mind settle. In this space between stimulus and response lies your freedom. By consciously choosing your stance calm, grounded, and clear, you build muscle memory for resilience. Over time, criticism becomes no longer a threat, but a mirror offering perspective on where to refine your character. Part 2. Pause, breathe, and observe. In the heat of criticism, our minds can feel like a whirlwind, thoughts spinning, heart racing, and words threatening to pour out before we've even registered them. Yet, as Marcus Aurelius counsels, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is where the simple acts of pausing, breathing, and observing become revolutionary. Picture yourself sitting in traffic, the clock ticking away, and a stranger honks. Instinctively, you might honk back or shout in frustration. But what if you simply press the brake, inhale deeply, and observe the anger as though it were a stranger passing by? That brief moment of stillness interrupts the automatic reaction. In that space, your rational mind whispers, "I choose how I respond." Anecdote time. Epictetus once told a student who was prone to rage, "When someone offends you, pause and say, 'This person is in error,' but then take one more breath and say, 'And so am I.'" In many ways, by acknowledging both his imperfections and the offender's, the student discovered that compassion replaced rage. Let me ask you, have you noticed how a single breath can shift your entire state? When you feel the burn of a cutting remark, let your next inhalation be a moment of sanctuary. Feel your lungs expand, your chest soften, and your mind widen. As you exhale, imagine releasing the urge to react. You are not inhaling criticism or exhaling your peace. You are creating a bridge between stimulus and response. Observation is the third pillar here. Once you've paused and breathed, lean into awareness. What sensations arise in your body? Does your jaw clench? Does your stomach twist? Notice these as neutral events, just signals, not commands. Watch the thoughts that follow. They're attacking me. I can't believe they said that. Allow them to surface, name them, and then let them drift away like leaves on a stream. This practice, as Seneca wrote, transforms turmoil into clarity. Imagine you're at a dinner party and someone offers a hostile critique of your beliefs. Instead of flinching, you pause. You feel the pulse in your neck, and you breathe in awareness. You observe the thought, "I must defend myself," but you don't act on it immediately. In the silence, your true voice emerges measured, calm, and clear. By training ourselves in this three-step ritual: pause, breathe, observe, we build a mental muscle that can carry us through storms of words without capsizing. Each pause is a victory, each breath a reaffirmation of inner command, each observation a lesson in self-mastery. So next time criticism pierces your calm, remember, a warrior does not charge blindly into battle. Instead, she stands firm, braces herself, and chooses her next move with unwavering resolve. Part 3. Seek the kernel of truth. Have you ever tossed and turned at night, your mind caught in a loop of harsh words you received? Often, beneath the surface of any critique, no matter how cutting, lies a nugget of truth, waiting to be unearthed. The Stoics teach us that wisdom grows when we act like miners, patient, discerning, and unafraid to delve beneath the rubble of emotion. Seneca wrote to a friend who was wounded by a critic's scathing letter, "Pause before you dismiss him." Is there something in his words that could guide your journey? That question transformed his grief into opportunity. It wasn't about granting the critic victory. It was about mining his clay for improvement. Pause with me and imagine someone tells you, "You never listen." That statement could land like a slap. Your first instinct might be to defend. Yes, I do. But what if you channeled your inner philosopher and asked, which moments have made you feel unheard? In that moment, you shift from defensiveness to curiosity. Epictetus urged his students to hold criticism up like a mirror, not to gaze at your flaws in despair, but to see clearly where to polish your soul. When the mirror breaks, when the criticism is baseless, no harm done, you simply discard the fragments. But when a crack forms along a seam you hadn't noticed, you've found your starting point for repair. Let's bring this home with an everyday tale. Picture a teacher receiving a parent's complaint. "My child says your class is boring." At first, the teacher's heart sinks, yet, beneath the sting, there's a question: how can I make my lessons more alive? The teacher experiments with storytelling, adds real-world examples, and watches engagement blossom. A once hurtful comment becomes the spark for growth. Remember Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher who rose above flattery and slander alike. He advised himself in his meditations, when someone blames you unfairly, ask, "What good can I salvage from this storm?" He didn't let pride blind him. Instead, he searched for the beacon of truth in the dark. So, how do you practice this yourself? First, listen fully. Don't interrupt. Don't craft your rebuttal while the other speaks. Let every word land. Second, sift through the words like chaff. Separate emotion from fact. Ask, what's said? What's felt? What's real? Third, own your part. If there's truth, how will you integrate it? If there's not, thank the critic for their perspective and move on. In doing so, You transform criticism from a weapon into a tool. You become both craftsman and crafted, shaping your character with each reflection and with each honest excavation. You cultivate humility and mastery in equal measure as you go forward. Remember, truth is not always wrapped in kindness, but it is priceless. Embrace the kernel, polish it, learn from it, and let it strengthen the foundation of your inner citadel. Part 4. Respond with virtue, not with vice. When criticism lands, our first impulse often urges us to strike back to defend our pride or to diminish the speaker. Yet the Stoics teach an altogether different response: meet vice with virtue. Why? Because every harsh word presents a choice to add fuel to the blaze of conflict or to douse it with understanding and grace. Epictetus instructs, when you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your failings. Then you will forget your anger. By shifting attention inward, we transform offense into self-examination. Have you ever noticed how anger feels like hot coals in the belly? Instead of letting them burn you or fling them at another, use their heat to illuminate your reactions. What did that comment provoke in you and why? Consider a scenario. You submit a report and your manager critiques it sharply. Calling it careless, your heart might clench and you could reply with a curt, "Well, perhaps you'd like to write it yourself." But pause, take a breath and channel Seneca's wisdom. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Engage your manager with curiosity. "Thank you for pointing that out. Could you show me where I slipped so I can learn?" This simple act of humility and engagement does more than pacify. It invites collaboration and mutual respect. Marcus Aurelius once faced public mockery for his philosophical pursuits as emperor. Rather than lashing out, he reflected, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I shall gladly change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." He embodied the ideal: respond not with pride, but with a sincere thirst for improvement. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine a friend saying, "You're too rigid. You never loosen up." That stab can hurt, our defenses bristle. Yet, by replying with virtue, you might say, "I appreciate your honesty. In what ways do you think I could be more flexible?" You open a door to empathy, to real conversation, and perhaps to personal growth. You refuse to trade vice, sarcasm, defensiveness for the healing power of sincerity. This approach demands courage. It's easier to meet insult with insult, to retreat behind sarcasm or silence. But every time you choose curiosity over contempt, calm over chaos, you strengthen your inner citadel. You signal to yourself and to the world that your character is your greatest asset. Ask yourself, what kind of legacy will you leave? One of short-lived victories in petty squabbles, or one of steady integrity that withstands even the harshest critique? Let every response be guided by the cardinal Stoic virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. In doing so, you turn criticism into an invitation not just to improve your work, but to polish your soul. Part 5. Remember the impermanence of all opinions. At the heart of Stoic wisdom lies a simple yet powerful insight. Opinions, whether praise or blame, are as fleeting as shadows at sunset. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in his Meditations that the judgments of others are like gusts of wind, strong in the moment, but incapable of uprooting a tree that stands rooted in virtue. Have you ever been haunted by a passing comment, only to see it vanish from conversation the next day? What power does that comment truly have over your lifelong journey? Picture a theater stage. The actors' friends, colleagues, critics deliver their lines, some kind, some harsh. But once the curtain falls, their words dissolve in the hush of the empty hall. So too with criticism. It enters our ears, but if we hold our ground, it cannot echo endlessly in our minds. Seneca offered a striking image. People are frenzied by others' moods, as though they were their own. He advised us to treat every external judgment as if we stood on a high cliff, watching waves crash below, visible but unable to sweep us away. This mental distance transforms a tidal wave of criticism into a ripple on a pond. Let me share a brief story. A young student once agonized over a professor's unfavorable remark about her writing. She carried it in her bag, reread it at night, and let it color her day. One morning, she met a wise mentor who said, "Did that remark teach you something new?" or simply remind you of old fears, the student realized she'd inflated its importance. From that day, she pictured each critique as lines in the sand visible briefly, then washed clean by the next wave of life. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Imagine looking back on today's criticisms a decade hence. What scenes will stand vivid, and which will blur into the tapestry of experience? This perspective isn't dismissive, it's liberating. It invites you to hold each opinion lightly, grateful for any insight, but unshaken by its departure. How do we practice this in daily life? Begin by pausing to ask, is this criticism a permanent marker on my character or a fleeting scribble on a notebook page? Then visualize letting those scribbles dissolve. Maybe even imagine a gentle wind blowing them away, leaving your mind clear and your resolve intact. In this practice, you cultivate equanimity, the Stoic shield against the darts of others' judgments. You learn that your worth and your peace are not anchored in applause or shielded by ignoring critique. They are anchored in living according to your values, day after day. So the next time a critical voice echoes in your mind, remember, you are the author of your own story, and no mere opinion can rewrite your purpose. Stand firm, rooted in virtue, and let the winds of judgment pass through you, leaving your garden of character unbowed. Part 6. Practice gratitude for the gift of feedback. It may feel counterintuitive to thank someone when their words cut like a knife. Yet Stoic masters believe that criticism, however unwelcome, is among our greatest teachers. Seneca reminds us difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. In the gym of life, feedback is your resistance, training each rep, forging mental resilience. Take a moment and recall the last critique you received. Did you brace for impact or lean in to hear more? Imagine if, in that moment of discomfort, you paused and said either aloud or in your mind, "Thank you for sharing this." Doesn't that simple acknowledgement shift the tone? Gratitude transforms what feels like an attack into an act of generosity. Epictetus counseled his students to see every event as neutral and to assign meaning through their own judgments. So when someone offers feedback, kind or harsh view, it as a neutral gift. It's neither good nor bad until you decide what to do with it. By offering gratitude, you reclaim agency. You decide to welcome the lesson rather than recoil in defense. Here's a brief story from modern life. A startup founder received a blunt investor comment. "Your pitch lacks clarity." Initially, she felt deflated, but instead of retreating, she thanked the investor and asked for specifics. The investor's examples helped her refine her narrative, and the next presentation secured funding. Had she dismissed his remark, she'd have missed the chance to sharpen her vision. Marcus Aurelius practiced a related exercise. Each morning, he would imagine the challenges he might face: criticism, misunderstanding, resistance, and mentally thank the world for these trials. In doing so, he prepared his mind not to shrink from adversity, but to meet it with gratitude and grace. You can adopt a morning ritual. Spend a few minutes envisioning potential critiques and silently say, "I welcome this feedback as an opportunity to grow." Why does gratitude work? Because it rewires your neural pathways. Studies show that nurturing appreciation boosts mental well-being. From a Stoic perspective, gratitude flips the script. Criticism becomes a kind of kindness, a mirror held up to reveal what you cannot see on your own. But what if the feedback is unfair or malicious? Even then, you can practice a sort of Stoic gratitude. Thank yourself for maintaining composure, and thank the universe for another moment to practice virtue. This isn't self-deception. It's deliberate framing. You acknowledge what happened, choose your response, and affirm your commitment to growth. So next time someone offers you critique, whether delivered gently or with a sting, pause. Place your hand over your heart and say thank you. Feel the subtle shift in your chest. That's the lift of empowerment. Gratitude doesn't mean you accept every criticism as gospel. It means you honor the process of receiving, reflecting, and deciding your path forward. By turning feedback into a gift, you change your relationship with criticism forever. The more you practice, the more naturally gratitude will arise, even in the face of harsh words. And as gratitude grows, fear and defensiveness wither away. Part 7. Cultivate steady confidence through daily reflection. Equanimity, like a garden, flourishes through daily tending. The Stoics remind us that a single act of reflection can plant the seeds of enduring confidence. Marcus Aurelius began and ended each day with a journal, probing his soul with gentle questions. What trials lie ahead? How will I meet them? What virtues will I practice? This habitual self-inquiry became the bedrock of his unshakable calm. Have you ever noticed how at day's end, your mind replays moments of embarrassment or regret? Those echoes can erode our confidence if left unchecked. But what if you harness them instead? Imagine settling into a quiet corner each evening, pen in hand, and asking yourself, what criticism did I encounter today? How did I respond in thought and action? Where did I uphold my principles and where did I stray? This is more than a checklist, it's a heart-to-heart with your higher self. Let's pause for an anecdote. Seneca wrote letters to his friend Lucilius, guiding him through self-examination. When you lay down to sleep, ask whether today you have lived with honesty and purpose. If you find blemishes, resolve to mend them tomorrow. You don't need to be a philosopher king to practice this. Even in the humblest of circumstances, receiving feedback at work, navigating family tensions, facing an online comment, you can journal your victories and your missteps. Why is this so potent? Because repetition builds neural pathways. Each time you reflect on a moment of criticism and name your response, I stayed calm, I overreacted, you strengthen the path of awareness and weaken the tangle of impulsive reactivity. Over weeks and months, this daily ritual transforms a fleeting practice into an ingrained habit. You might wonder, what if I miss a day or two? The Stoics never promised perfection. They invited persistence. Epictetus confessed to occasional lapses but celebrated the return to practice. He taught, if you stumble, stand back up and continue. The resilience lies not in never falling, but in rising swiftly. As you track your progress, celebrate your small wins. Perhaps you asked a clarifying question instead of snapping, or you thanked someone for their honesty despite the sting. These are the milestones on your path to steadiness. Remember, this practice isn't a chore, it's a gift to your future self. Like watering a sapling at dawn, your nightly reflections nourish the roots of your inner strength. Over time, you'll awaken to find criticism no longer shakes you. It simply passes through the filter of your wisdom, leaving you more grounded than before. Now, take a deep breath and envision your reflection ritual. See yourself writing with intention, heart open and mind clear, forging the calm confidence that Stoics call ataraxia. This is the culmination of all the methods we've explored, a steady well of resilience that grows stronger with each thoughtful review. And there you have it, an approach to criticism forged in the wisdom of ancient Stoics and tempered for modern life. Friends, criticism is not the enemy. It is a mirror held up by others, a chance to see beyond our internal blind spots. It may sting, but remember that the wound deepens only if you remain fixated on it. Instead, let your reason, your virtue, and your inner calm guide you as you go about your day. Try just one of these steps. Notice the difference it makes in your reactions. Then try another and another. Over time, you'll find that criticism no longer knocks you off course. It sharpens you like a whetstone. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of resilience and reason. If you found value here, please hit that like button. Share this with someone who could use a Stoic perspective, and subscribe for more reflections on living wisely. May you stand firm in the face of every word thrown your way, and may your inner citadel remain unshakable. Until next time, be well, be steadfast, and remember, the power to respond lies within you.